Hey friends, welcome to day 11 of our stitch along. We are in the final stretch. In the next 2 days we are going to be working on text. So today we're working on just our first line. He is not here for, and this is going to be done with 924, 3 strands, doing a back stitch. So let's get stitching. Okay, so I have 924 on my needle, 3 strands, and we are going to be doing the back stitch like I mentioned earlier. So we have already done a back stitch when we outlined our tomb and when we outlined our tomb circle, but this back stitch is a little bit different because it's with lettering, and lettering is a lot harder. So listen along with the tips and you'll do great. When you stitch letters, you always want to start from the bottom going up when it's possible. Obviously, it's not quite as possible with curved letters or with an O, but with vertical lines, you want to try and always start at the bottom going up. So for example, with the he, we're going to start right here at the bottom. Oh, if I can find the right spot, there we go. And you're going to go up 1 back stitch length. Now, another thing you need to know about text is you want to try and find a pattern. Here, I'm probably going to be able to fit about 2 or 3 stitches. We'll see. And then I'm going to want to try and continue that pattern as long as possible. And you'll see what I mean by that in just a second. So let me go ahead and make my first stitch. The closer I look at this, I think it's definitely going to be 2 stitches. Even as I was thinking 3, like saying it out loud, I was like, that sounds like too much. Because that would make your stitches really tiny and that would just be more work for you. Try and straighten out that thread a little. Okay, so I've done 1 stitch and I'm going to do my second back stitch. And take your time on letters. You want your letters to be straight, because if not, you're going to look at it later and think, what was I doing? Why are my letters so crooked? So take your time. And again, I'm going to go right directly into this top hole. Okay, so I have 2 letters, or 2 stitches, sorry, going vertical here. So when I come over to the other side of the H, I'm going to try and match those same 2 stitches over on this side. Keep feeling like I see that first stitch being a little wonky. Okay, so to cross over on the H, I'm just going to do 1 stitch. And to try and get my stitches as close as possible, I try and, when I'm not going directly into another hole, I try and slide just a little bit under the stitches so that no gap will be left. You don't want to split the stitch on top because then it will look like a back split stitch. So here I am again going on the bottom of the H. And I'm going to find that same point that I went down on the first part and try and match it over here. It does not have to be exact, but just as close as possible. This will just help keep your letters uniformed. And sometimes, so right now I'm looking as I traced my H here, it looks like this letter, the second line in the H might be a little too high, so it's going to be uneven. That could be, let me look at my handy dandy guide here. It's not. Okay, I was going to say it could be how it was written originally, that there's just a little bit of, I can't think of the word right now, but difference in how the letters are. It's not like a precise font because someone wrote this for me. But so in that case, if you traced it and it's a little higher and you like that look, keep it. But I can tell I traced a little too high here, so I'm going to correct myself and not necessarily go to the top of my stitch. I'm going just a little bit below it, you can see. And sometimes it helps to put your needle in and push it towards the direction it's going to go, and you can kind of see where your thread's going to go, because sometimes when you come up, it doesn't always quite end up where you think it was going to be, because as you pull thread one way or another way, it kind of changes just slightly the look of it. Okay, so there we have he. Now, when I come over to the E, Sorry, I just said now we have he. We don't. We just have an age. Now, when I come over to the E in he, I'm going to start again at the bottom. And again, I'm going to try and find that same spot that I came, sorry, that got blurry, that I went down on these other ones. I actually feel like I went a little too high with that stitch from the bottom. So what I'm going to do is take my needle and just pull it out. And start again at a spot that I feel more comfortable with. That's another thing with lettering. Take your time, and if you feel like something doesn't look quite right, take it out. Because if you wait too long, it's just gonna be a pain. Okay, so let me try again on that E and come just a little bit lower. Oops, got stuck on my hoop. Okay, I like that a lot better. I'm gonna go ahead and do this bottom horizontal stitch. And since the holes align, I'm gonna go right into that hole. I don't have to slide under like I did with that H. Now I went crooked. Y'all are getting a lot of my imperfections right now. That is the hard thing, is if you end up correcting yourself and not following your pattern, you have to really be careful that when another spot connects, like that part of the E does, that you're keeping it straight. So let me try it again. It always ends up being that my text videos are the longest because they're the ones I take the most time on. Okay, so as you can see, I'm not quite following my trace there because I had to correct my original line. Okay, much happier. So now I'm going to do that middle. All right, so now we have the word he. Next, I'm just gonna move over to the is. I'm not gonna tie off after the word he. I will, obviously we finish for today at the end of 4, so you don't have to worry about, well, okay, we're finishing at the end of 4, so you'll tie off there, and when we come back tomorrow, you'll start at he. Now, if you're doing this on your own or you're doing a different project, you do want to try and tie off when you go from one line to the next line, especially because it's such a large space between the two. But for this case, we're finishing this first line today, so you should be tying it off before you move to the next line. All right, I'm gonna fast forward until I get to about the O here, and then I'm gonna stop and give you a little bit of a tip with the O. All right, sorry, that's shaking a little. Oh, stop. This is my advice for the letter O. Obviously, you can't make curves with O's. So what you want to do is kind of do like, you know those old, oh, it's not even in the frame, those old school S's that like look really funny? That's what this O reminds me of. You want to create a pattern. Have you noticed that patterns are a big thing with doing letters? And this is kind of what you want it to look like. Obviously your stitches will be touching, but this is what's going to help you create a nice rounded O. You want to kind of make a flat bottom, go a little bit sideways, straight up, sideways, flat top, sideways, straight up and down, sideways, and then you'll connect to the, sorry, the bottom. So that's what you'll do with the O. If you keep with that pattern, you'll be just fine. So here, let's watch it in motion. That's not in action. Watch it in action. I normally get a little loopy in my talking on my videos, so I'm impressed that it's taken me this long to start getting a little loopy in my talking. Okay, so my O here, I did not transfer it very well. You can see where my O is a little flat over here. So I'm gonna have to make up my stitches a little bit as I go. So I'm going to create my flat bottom. My sideways stitch. Make sure that went sideways enough for me. Yeah, I think it's fine. Okay, another straight stitch. Sideways stitch. Flat top. And these stitches are a little bit tighter so you can fit everything. Another sideways stitch. Flat side. And you can see this is where I have to start going off course a little bit in order to make it a rounder yellow. Rounder, oh, not yellow. And then I'm going to connect it to the bottom with another sideways stitch. Yeah, if it does a knot in the bottom. Okay, so there you have a much more rounder O. So just follow that pattern for when you get to, I can't see it, the O over here, and you'll be fine. So the rest of the video is going to be fast forward, and I'll come back at the end to talk just for a little bit. Okay, so that's the end of day 11. Come back tomorrow for our final stitch along day.